Hello there, welcome to my channel Unknown Unsolved Unworldly. Hope you guys doing well. In my last video I told you guys about one of the freakiest places in South Korea. Today I'm going to take you to another tour, and this one is Japan's most haunted forest. So buckle up your seatbelts and let's get started with our intro. The Aokigahara Forest, more commonly known as the Suicide Forest, is a creepy place filled with horror and one of the most terrifying places on earth. This spooky forest is also known as the Sea of Trees due to the dense amount of pine trees and frequent stories of people getting lost. The Suicide Forest is located on the northwestern flank of Mount Fuji on the island of Honshu in Japan, thriving on 30 square kilometers of hardened lava laid down by the last major eruption of Mount Fuji in 864 CE. The western edge of Aokigahara, where there are several caves that fill with ice in winter, is a popular destination for tourists and school trips. Parts of Aokigahara are very dense and the porous lava rock absorbs sound, contributing to a sense of solitude that some visitors attribute to the forest. The forest has a historical reputation as a home to yurei, and I know you might be wondering what yurei means. Well, yurei are figures in Japanese folklore analogs to the Western model of ghosts. The name consists of two kanji, yu meaning faint or dim, and rei meaning soul or spirit. At least since the 1960s, Aokigahara has become associated with suicide, eventually becoming known in English by the nickname the Suicide Forest, and gaining a reputation as one of the world's most used suicide sites. Because of this, signs at the head of some trails urge suicidal visitors to think of their families and contact a suicide prevention association. The trails are lined with ribbon, string, and plastic tape that are used to mark ways out of the suicide forest to prevent people from getting lost. Visitors will often line their paths with ribbon to help find their way out. Others who are contemplating suicide will often leave a ribbon trail just in case they happen to change their minds and want to leave. The Suicide Forest is cluttered with discarded personal items like shoes, socks, umbrellas, backpacks, and even empty tents. Straying off the main trails can be extremely dangerous because the ground in many areas is covered with web-like veins of sprawling tree roots growing everywhere. There are also countless fallen trees scattered and piled everywhere in the Suicide Forest. Well, Aokigahara is sometimes referred to as the most popular site for suicide in Japan. In 2003, 105 bodies were found in the forest, exceeding the previous record of 78 in 2002. In 2010, the police recorded more than 200 people having attempted suicide in the forest, of whom 54 completed the act. Suicides are said to increase during March, the end of fiscal year in Japan. As of 2011, the most common means of suicide in the forest were hanging or drug overdose. In recent years, local officials have stopped publicizing the numbers in an attempt to decrease Aokigahara's association with suicide. The rate of suicide has led officials to place a sign at the forest's entry urging suicidal visitors to seek help and not take their own lives. Annual body searches have been conducted by the police, volunteers, and journalists since 1970. The moment one steps into Aokigahara, it quickly becomes apparent that something is slightly off about the place. The first thing one may notice is the disconcerting silence here. The density of the closely packed trees blocks the sun and wind, producing a dark, eerie blanket of quiet which is further compounded by the curious lack of wildlife in the area. The sounds of birds and other wildlife that one might expect to hear chirping and chattering in abundance are oddly absent or subdued here, as if they have shunned this place or are hiding from something. Some visitors have described the quality of sounds here as somewhat muted, as if being heard through a thick veil or from another room. One may also notice that compasses do not work properly here. The needle may jerk and jump, or conversely do slow, languid circuits around and around. It is said that this is caused by magnetic anomalies induced by the rich deposits of magnetic iron in the area's volcanic soil. Yet the disorienting effect of the forest goes beyond merely rendering compasses useless. Many hikers that venture into Aokigahara, even experienced ones, claim that it is oddly easy to get lost or confused in the dark and silent place, and it is not uncommon to hear stories of hikers traveling around in circles or of being unable to navigate even short distances successfully. The result desired effect has led to many visitors planting markers or plastic tape in order not to lose their way. It's believed this forest was the site of Ubasute. The legend says that during times of famine, families would abandon their elderly in the forest to die of starvation. Ubasute has become part of Japanese folklore, but it's believed that Aokigahara is haunted by the yurei or ghosts of those elderly ancestors sacrificed among its trees. There have been horror movies, documentaries, books, and even comic books written about the extraordinary events in the Suicide Forest. The most recent and well-known movies about the Suicide Forest are The Forest and The Sea of Trees, and I recommend you should watch both of them. But the question is, why people commit suicide there and why does Japan have such a high suicide rate? Well, the answer: the attitude of suicide in Japan is much different than Western ideals. To be honest, suicide in Japan is not linked to any religion. Instead, it has its root deeply entrenched in the culture's consciousness. Japan has one of the highest rates of suicide per capita in the world. This is linked to overworking, lack of adequate mental health care, and its bloody history. Yes, historically the samurai practice of seppuku or honorable suicide after a failure is seen as heroic and often romanticized in modern culture. Suicide is seen as a release from life and in some cases as a way to save a family financially because of the loopholes in Japanese life insurance policies can pay out the family of someone who kills themselves. But I was looking for more clear answers, so I searched the web and I found a BBC article regarding this. That article published in 2015, and according to that article, more than 25,000 people took their own lives in 2014 alone. That's 70 every day, and I know that's a freaking crazy number. The vast majority were men, and you will be shocked to know that those figures do not make Japan's the highest suicide rate in the world in a developed nation. Now you might be wondering, then this title belongs to which nation? Well, the dubious title belongs to South Korea, yes. But it is still far higher than virtually all other wealthy countries. It is 3 times the suicide rate in United Kingdom. Isolation is the number one precursor for depression and suicide, says Wataru Nishida, a psychologist at Tokyo's Temple University. Now, it's more and more common to read stories about old people dying alone in their apartment. They are being neglected. Kids used to take care of their parents in old age in Japan, but not anymore, he says. To an extent, Mr. Nishida agrees. Japan has no history of Christianity. He says so here suicide is not a sin. In fact, some look at it as a way of taking responsibility. Now, some of you might be wondering how it is a way of taking responsibility. To answer your question, Mr. Ken Joseph from the Japan Helpline agrees with Mr. Nishida. He says their experience over the last 40 years shows that elderly people who are in financial trouble may see suicide as a way out of their problem. The insurance system in Japan is very lax, as I already mentioned earlier, when it comes to paying out for suicide. So when all else fails, some people may feel you can just kill yourself and insurance will pay out. There is sometimes an intolerable pressure on the elderly that the most loving thing they can do is take their lives and thereby provide for their family. Because of this, some experts think Japan's suicide rate is actually much higher than reported. A lot of lone deaths of elderly people are never fully investigated by the police, because according to Ken Joseph, the almost universal practice of cremating bodies here also means that any evidence is quickly destroyed. But it is only elderly men in financial trouble? No, it's not true. It is not only the elderly men who in financial trouble who are taking their own lives. The fastest growing suicide demographic is young men. It is now the single biggest killer of men in Japan aged 22 to 44. And the evidence suggests that young people are killing themselves because they have lost hope and are incapable of seeking help. The numbers first began to rise after the Asian financial crisis in 1998. They climbed again after the 2008 worldwide financial crisis. Experts think those rises are directly linked to the increase in precarious employment. Yes, the practice of employing young people on short-term contracts. Japan was once known as the land of lifetime employment, but while many older people still enjoy job security and generous benefits, nearly 40% of the young people in Japan are unable to find stable jobs. Financial anxiety and insecurity are compounded by Japan's culture of not complaining. There are not many ways to express anger or frustration in Japan, says Mr. Nishida. This is a rule-oriented society. Young people are molded to fit into a very small box. They have no way to express their true feelings. If they feel under pressure from their boss and get depressed, some feel the only way out is to die. Technology may be making things worse, increasing young people's isolation. Japan is famous for a condition called hikikomori, a type of acute social withdrawal. The Japanese Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare defines hikikomori as people who refuse to leave their house and isolate themselves from society in their homes for a period exceeding 6 months or even years. The young person affected may completely shut himself. It is most often a male, off from the outside world, withdrawing into a room and not coming out for months or even years. But that is only the most extreme form of what is now a widespread loss of direct face-to-face socializing. According to a recent survey of young Japanese people's attitudes to relationships and sex turned up some extraordinary results. Published in January by the Japan Family Planning Association, it is found that 20% of men aged between 25 to 29 had little or no interest in having a sexual relationship. Wataru Nishida points to the internet and the pervasive influence of online pornography. Young people in Japan have a lot of knowledge, Mr. Nishida says, but they have no life experience. They have no idea how to express their emotions. They have forgotten what it's like to touch a person. When they think about sex, they have high anxiety and no idea how to deal with it. And when young people do find themselves isolated and depressed, they have few places to turn to. Mental illness is still very much a taboo here. There is little popular understanding of depression. Those suffering its symptoms are often too scared to talk about it. Japan's mental health care system is also a mess, according to Mr. Nishida. There is an acute shortage of psychiatrists. There is no tradition of psychiatrists working together with clinical psychologists. People suffering from mental illness may be prescribed powerful psychotropic medicines, but unlike in the West, this will often not be accompanied by a recommendation that the patient seek counseling. The counseling industry itself is a free-for-all, unlike in America or Europe. There is no government-mandated system of training and qualifying clinical psychologists. Anybody can set him or herself up as a counselor, and it's very hard and bad for someone seeking help to know whether they actually know what they are doing or what. It is not a happy picture, and while the suicide rate has actually begun to decline in the last 3 years, it is still woefully high. Wataru Nishida says Japan need to start talking about mental illness much more, and not just as something scary and strange that afflicts a few. When you see a television discussion on mental illness in Japan, they still talk as if depression equals suicide. He says that needs to change. So, what do I think about this place? Is it really haunted or not? That's kind of a complicated question, to answer for this place, because to be honest, it looks more creepy and haunted due to its quiet surroundings and eerie looks, and of course, due to the suicides that happened here. But scary thoughts are thoughts that are by their very nature distressing, and when they occur, it can be very difficult to push the thought away. According to Joy Nickel, a senior research fellow from the Committee of Skeptical Inquiry, which promotes scientific inquiry and critical investigation of paranormal claims, believes ghosts are all in the mind. The mind is not at its sharpest when we are tired or lost in thought. People are more prone to see a ghost when they are in an altered state of consciousness. Wandering through a spooky place while you are tired is a good recipe for a ghost. So do I think that ghosts aren't real? Well, that's a topic for another video. And that brings us to the end of this video. Hope I cleared some of your thoughts on this topic, and I'm gonna left you with the last quote. Once a wise man said, suicide doesn't end the pain, it just passes to someone else. And it's not an act of cowardness. You do need a lot of courage to commit something like this. So do not judge that person until you don't know what he or she had to gone through to finally commit something like this. And if you think your life has no meaning and you have to end it somehow, and you choose this path, then you are wrong, my friend. Please do talk with your family, your close ones, your friends and doctors as well, because it might feel a permanent solution for all your problems, but believe me, you're gonna left a lifelong scar for those who you're going to leave behind. They have to live with it for their entire life. And that's all for this video. Please do like and subscribe. We're planning to hit 100 subs fam by the end of this year. I hope we can achieve it. And if you like my content, do share your thoughts on it through comments. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.